So why don't we go ahead and get started? So my name is Kieran Utter, and I am the project director for the Carolina Family Engagement Center. And welcome to you both today. Thank you so much for joining us. And we promise not to keep you any longer than necessary, but we did want to go through some of the basic tenets of the program that you're going to be participating in, and to give you a strong foundation for getting started. So if you have any questions, hopefully we can be informal and just treat this more of a discussion. And so don't hesitate to interrupt or raise your hand, or however you feel comfortable chiming in. So I'm going to turn it over to Lorelei Swanson to get us started.
Okay, welcome everyone. Now, you have not already done introductions, correct? Because I came in a little bit late.
We did they did put their names and districts in the chat, but I think we haven't had a chance to go through the one thing they're looking forward to.
Perfect. Welcome. Thank you for being here. And if you could please take turns and let me know your name, school, and district, even though you put that in the chat, the grade level that you teach, and the subject or subjects that you teach, and let us know one thing that you're looking forward to related to family engagement. And unmute yourself. I would love to hear from y'all.
Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Okay. My name is Tennille Papenchak. I am at Congreve Elementary School. It's in Lexington too. I am a first year. This is not my first year. This is my fourth year, but I am. This is my first year to second grade. And I teach all the subjects. And one thing I'm looking forward to related to family engagement is engaging more with parent-teacher conferences. I feel like as schools, we've gotten away from that a little bit, and I just want to keep continuing that and bring these families into the classroom so they know what their students are doing on a daily basis or a weekly basis. So I would like to definitely get better at doing that.
Great. Wonderful. Thank you, Tennille.
Yep.
Katie? You might be muted, Katie. I can't hear you.
Katie, if you could put in the chat, that would be great. So you figure out to see where you're unmuted, but it's just not working at the moment.
We'll read it from the chat if you can put it in there.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I had to unplug from my other devices. Okay. My name is Katie Hedden, and I am at Welford Academy, first grade teacher in Spartanburg District 5. And this is my 9th year teaching. One thing that I'm looking forward to is learning more about engaging diverse families into people that speak different languages into my classroom a little bit more, and get more into kind of like what Tennille said, getting them into the classroom more.
Wonderful, Katie. Thank you for sharing. Next slide, please. Now I'm just going to do a quick introduction to our team. We have 4 regional family liaisons. I'm Lorelei Swanson. I work in the upstate. We have Renita Outing on the call, who covers the PD region. Loran Galita Patel serves the Midlands. She is attending a family engagement conference today and can't be with us. And we have Clarissa Hinton Thompson representing the Low Country. And we also have our co-project director, Gina Kuntz, on the call as well. Next slide, please. Our vision at the Carolina Family Engagement Center is that all families are actively engaged in their children's learning and development in partnership with their schools and communities in ways that support student success and promote equity in education across South Carolina. And our mission is to strengthen the abilities of all families, schools, and communities to develop robust partnerships and use evidence-based and practice-informed family engagement strategies by facilitating access to information and materials, high-quality resources, and community resources. Excuse me. So we aim to create equity and opportunities for all families with a special focus on families with low incomes, families of multilingual learners, racial and ethnic families, minority families, excuse me, families of students with disabilities and complex medical needs, families who are homeless or migrant workers, and families of foster children and grandchildren. So family engagement matters because it benefits students, families, educators, and schools. You can see the many benefits in this slide, and there is nearly 50 years of research demonstrating that these benefits are observed across all demographic and socioeconomic groups. Family engagement isn't just the responsibility of you as an educator. At its most effective, everyone in the school community collaborates in family engagement. And when that happens, everyone wins.
Okay, thanks, Lorelei. So we wanted to introduce you. You may have already had some introduction to our school partner program, but just to briefly review, our school partner program includes this year 17 schools from across the state. And the main things, the main sort of ideas around the partner program is first, that we want to try and support your school in engaging families at multiple levels. So we have multiple initiatives going on at the same time, so that we're working at the school level to support your family engagement activities, at the classroom level, which is where you are, and then also working directly with parents to help them build capacity to be able to engage with you all. And it's a 2-year program. With your school will have an option to renew. And actually, I believe Congaree has been with us as part of our prior school partner program. So we know Congaree pretty well. And but the reason we have these longer periods of time is just that family engagement really depends on relationships and relationship building. And that's not something you can do just in one workshop or in one event or activity. It's really something that takes time and for things to develop and for people to get to know each other and to understand each other. So that's why that's one of the things we feel like is important about our program, is that we are able to have our liaisons with our schools for a longer period of time to let those relationships develop and then to build on those. So this is a visual image of the school partner program. And so you can see under the umbrella of the school partner program, well, all 3 of these initiatives will be going on at the same time. So your liaison is going to be working with a stakeholder group, which will probably be, in your cases, the school improvement council. But for schools that don't have a school improvement council, it could just be a stakeholder group. But at that level, they're going to be working on sort of assessing where your school is at overall and working on family engagement planning, implementation, evaluation at the school level. And then, as I mentioned, we'll also be working directly with parents through our Parent Leadership Partner Program. And that's where we bring together a group of up to 15 parents, and they spend 8 sessions together just to learn the basics of things like, how does your school operate? If I have a problem, who do I go to? What is the profile of the South Carolina graduate? What's the most effective way I can help my child with homework? What do I need to know about what my child needs to do to graduate? So just basic information like that. And they'll be working on that for, as I said, for 8 sessions. And we found in our prior goes with this particular initiative that it really has been helpful in building parent confidence to engage with the school and to invite other parents, their friends, their neighbors to engage with the school. So the third piece, or the third initiative in the school partner program, is where you are, which is the teacher partner program. And that is really about your meeting over a period of months with your school's liaison from CFEC. And you'll be working on, and you probably have already started working on, planning, implementation, evaluation of family engagement strategies and activities at the classroom level that are customized specifically for your students and families and that are aligned with your classroom goals. And supporting all that, of course, is the Carolina Family Engagement Center. And that includes not just our staff, but also specialists that we have working with us who are faculty members at the College of Education, and also our community partners who provide us with resources and support and connections that help us support particularly some of those families of focus that we talked about. All right. So the goals, why are we doing this? So first is really about capacity building. So when I talk about capacity, talking about knowledge base. So helping you to build your knowledge base around strategies that are evidence or research informed. Thinking about what are the key frameworks and models that you can learn from to be able to inform how you engage your families in your classrooms, and how do you connect family engagement with your goals for reading and math and social studies or behavior or attendance. So talking about those kinds of things. And then another goal we have is to really elevate your work and to collect the kinds of projects and practices that you do, and to be able to disseminate those across the state in terms of helping other teachers to understand what you found that works, and building recognition for you as a champion and a leader for family engagement. And then just overall encouraging wider use of family engagement within the school. And that we've seen happen just in an anecdotal sort of way when we've had prior teacher partners in schools that were not part of the teacher partner program. We still saw some dissemination of those strategies into other classrooms, because what happened was other teachers in the school saw what our teacher partners were doing and liked it and wanted to participate. So they'd ask if they could join in as part of the team, or if they could replicate what that teacher was doing or learn more about what they're doing. So it sort of has a ripple effect. So we hope that through your work, you will serve as a model and an influencer in terms of helping other teachers to adopt some of the best practices into their classrooms. Okay, before we go on, we're going to share some feedback and examples from other past teacher partner program participants. But does anyone have any questions so far? Okay. With that, I'll turn it over to Renita then.
As Karen just mentioned, we will be sharing some quotes and stories from teacher partner graduates, along with feedback from families. Next slide. CFEC teacher partner programs throughout the 2029-2023 school year, we had 20 teacher partner graduates. The school level breakdown was 14 elementary, 3 middle, 2 high, 1 collective middle and high school, and they were across the 4 regions that we work in: 4 in the PD region, 4 in the upstate, 8 in the Midlands, and 4 in the Lower Country. Next slide. This slide talks about a story from one of my teacher partners that worked with me, a 4th grade science and math teacher, Miss Shawn Calvin at Harleyville Elementary in Dorchester. She did an initiative called Mathletic Nights, and it was initially just with her classroom, but she decided to incorporate the other teachers and grade levels throughout the school. So what they did was they hosted the first Mathletic Night initiative, and it was educational and fun for both parents and students, to where the teachers invited the parents into the classroom and they worked through math problems along with the parents and students, and kind of went by step to make sure parents understood how to better support their children at home. Once they did the different homework modeling, they collaborated and also facilitated like an exam for parents to make sure that the parents had a clear understanding of the information that was shared at the time. The school counselor was invited to share test taking strategies, and then they ended the night with a raffle and a dinner to follow. Next slide. As you can see here, the first picture of the Mathletic Night poster that's showing in the front office is actually with the principal. She was excited about the whole initiative, and we had her buy-in from there. As you see the other pictures, there were teachers showing, like, using a whiteboard to go over different problems with the parents to make sure step by step to make sure that they understood, and the students were helping the parents. Next slide. For outcomes and feedback, surveys were given to parents after the program to share helpful feedback on successes, any needed changes and ideas. And one of the quotes that came from Ms. Calvin, who was the teacher who actually initiated the program, she did share that, "I do not receive a lot of thank yous in my line of work. So when I hear things like, 'I appreciate you,' it means a whole lot to me." Also, my parents also showed their appreciation by using the strategies they learned with their students. And the last bullet is access information from the CFEC Teacher Partner Program. So you can actually go on our website and you can see additional teacher partner initiatives that were done with the other CFEC liaisons.
And I'll add to the, sometimes our teacher partners have continued to work with the liaisons even after their participation in the program is over. And Renina is an example of that with, is it Ms. Minton?
Ms. Mixon from
Mixon,
Dorchester 4.
Yeah, in Dorchester 4, who's continuing to work with us even after the program is over. Is she special ed? Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah. So she's one of our special ed teachers that we worked with. Okay, I think Lorelai, you're up.
Yes, so we have interviewed and surveyed graduates of our CFEC Teacher Partner Program, and these are just some of the quotes that we received from the teachers we work with. I'll read the ones that are highlighted. "I've seen non-readers grow from reading, their reading fluency improved. I have seen parents more engaged and more understanding about the classroom and the academics we are learning. Parents were more aware of student progress and how they were able to get extra resources if needed." And finally, academic improvement growth was the greatest area of improvement, and parents shared feeling more empowered to help their child at home. And here are some student and family benefits as reported by Ms. Flo Jackson, a pre-K teacher at Polo Road Elementary School who participated in our teacher partner program. And she distributed an end of year survey to her parents. Responses indicated that parents felt more confident and comfortable helping their child learn to read and write as compared to the way they felt at the beginning of the year. And almost all parents responded that they were going to be supporting their students' reading and writing practice throughout the summer with skills they had learned throughout the school year. And now I would just want to take a moment to pause and reflect. Welcome, Tori. I see that you've been able to join us. And so if you can just reflect on or put into the chat keywords or concepts that we've shared so far that have really resonated with you.
Sorry, I couldn't get my microphone to work for like 2 seconds. I couldn't find my little button. I apologize about that. But I think that for me, it's just like being able to truly engage the parents. I know that's part of this whole thing, engagement. But you know, seeing that it actually impacts the students and within the classroom. Because a lot of times and everything, well, parent engagement, well, that's going to impact parents, but actually impacting the students as well.
Thank you, Tori. You want to go ahead and share what subject you teach, what grade level you teach, and what school and district you attend?
Yes. Okay, so I teach 5th grade math at Liberty Elementary School. And I teach at the school district of Pickens County.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And then to Neil and Katie, since we're a small group, if you just want to unmute yourself and share any keywords or concepts that have resonated with you so far.
That parents were able to better support their child because of some of these nights that they had to show them more, and they were able to apply it even in the summer months.
Yeah, so the hard work, kind of showing that the hard work that you're going to do over the next 2 years is going to have an impact on your students and families. Katie?
That I just shared.
You're muted, Lorelai.
I'm sorry, Katie. To Neil, I apologize for that.
Well, I was just going to mention that, I really appreciated both. I think both Tori and Tennille sort of mentioned about the impact on students as well as parents, and just wanting to really emphasize that really is our ultimate goal for this entire project for family engagement generally, is not just to help parents, although that's important, but ultimately to link what we do with parents to student learning and development, so that what you're doing is not necessarily something extra, but it's a strategy. It's just one strategy in your toolkit that you're using to meet your academic and school climate goals. Ultimately, that's what it's all about. And so a lot of the work we'll be doing together is to try and help you make those connections so that the work that you do is going to have an impact in that area. And also, we've given examples of events, but there are also practices. I don't want you to feel like your only option is to do, an event. Events are fine and events are helpful, but ongoing practices that, those two can be impactful. So just keeping that in mind. Okay, does anyone else have anything they want to add before we, or any questions before we go ahead? Okay, well, I will go then to Clarissa. And she's going to talk to us about just our general approach to family engagement. Clarissa?
Can you hear me, Karen?
Yes, I can.
Okay, so Caroline Family Engagement Center's approach to family engagement, some of the key family engagement aspects that we talk about is the concept of the South Carolina framework. And some of the examples I want to talk about are the evidence-based practice in informed. And that's just showing how we're doing these things and how we're reaching our goal, evidence-based. What can we show that we're doing? Linking it to learning. I think this is one of the key parts, is having true buy-in with our families of how they can actually help their student and what does that look like. One example I'll use for that is me and one of my teacher partners, we talked about each day we would share a different subject of what we're doing inside the classroom, so parents will know exactly what we're on each week. And that links it to learning, because the parents can have motivational conversations with their children about those things. Trust relationships and welcoming schools. One of the things that we're doing also is to build relationships with parents, is we're calling parents each week. We're calling a different set of parents and just having courageous conversations about, you know, some of the great things their children are doing. And then the welcoming part is we're talking about their student and we know their student by name, and we're sending out attendance postcards for those parents who are having trouble coming to school. We're sending those out so that parents will know that they can, at any point, they can talk to us at this time, and we've linked a QR code to it so they can go right to the attendance information, and also they can call the school and talk to us at particular times. Culturally relevant, culturally responsive is just knowing the background of your families and your students, and just understanding that when we incorporate real life experience things, students start to take a different approach to education when that is something that they have experienced, is something that they can actually hang on to, that they know. The dual capacity is probably the best, and Karen Map is the best when it comes to this. And Karen Map talks about the 4 C's, and connection, cognition, and confidence. And when parents have these 4 things, parents can actually be self-sufficient, and then it starts to be a systematic approach for parents, and it helps them in every grade, not just in the grade that they're in right now. Align with school academic, school goals and climate. So like when you look at your plans, all of the things will be aligned, and all the plans are the same. And then just understanding that the academic plans that you have and the climate goals are all, even though there's 16 plans, it's just really one plan, and all of them are saying the same thing, and it's just aligned with those goals. So whatever goals that you have academically, those are the concepts that we're going to actually try to meet. This is the framework, the South Carolina framework. I'm very happy about this because this is a committee that I was on. And so building relationships is huge in any kind of concept. When you talk about parent engagement, community partnerships, who do we have in our community that we can actually lean on to come in and have good rapports with our students? Because one thing I do know is one school that I used to be at, they had a school store. And because some of those students lived around there, a lot of times there were no break-ins to that store, because that manager, he came in and he talked to the kids, and he understood that making those relationships will help students understand that this is a part of our neighborhood. So we want to make sure we keep everybody safe. Collaborative practices is using practices that not only we can use at home, but we can use at schools, such as some of the things that we use for PBIS. We can use some of those things at home also. Communication, just making sure that our families understand that whatever communication tactic they need us to use to reach them, those are the tactics we're going to use. The time of day that they need us, that's what time that we can best fit their needs. Linking families to learning outcomes. So one of the things that we always say at CFEC is events don't change test scores. We know that there are events that we can get resources that help parents help change test scores, meaning that the academic portion, when parents have something that they've linked to learning, the math concept or the reading concept, that's what helped changes test scores. Is not just the grades for grandparents, but understanding what the grades have been during the class time, and helping families understand what have we been doing inside the classroom so that we can continue that same thing at home. Next slide. Examples of how K-12 framework is incorporated in our cooperative work starts where you are. Building some components of the South Carolina framework, building trust and relationships. What are you doing well in the area? What would you like to add or improve? And so maintaining ongoing two-way communication. What does that look like for your school? Supporting families in specific areas of student learning and development. Where your students having challenges at, can you really be specific with a parent and tell them these are the areas that your child is having some challenges in. Collaborating in student and school decision making. Are you a part of Do you come to the SIC meetings? Do you come to some of the parent advisory committee meetings? So you'll know where parents stand when it comes to some of the decisions that we've made. Community partnerships. Do you know your community partnerships at your school and how they affect your school? Next slide. The National Network of Partnership Schools Action Team Model talks about Epstein, the 6 types of parent involvement, collaborating with the community, parenting, communicating, volunteering, learning at home, and decision-making. And we've talked about each one of those, but volunteering, one of the things that parents always talk about is when you talk about volunteering, how we surveyed our parents to know their strong points and how they can help us at our school. Next slide.
All right. And so I'm going to hop in here and talk about the dual capacity building framework a little bit more. Clarissa mentioned it earlier, but just so you know who Karen Mapp is, you may already know, but she is a professor at Harvard Graduate School of Education. And she has for quite a while now been probably the leading, I don't want to say authority, but the leading champion for family engagement, and her research and her formulations of family engagement are really widely used around the country. So the model of hers that we use most frequently is called the dual capacity building model. And I know it looks rather imposing from looking at it, but for right now, I just want you to take away two basic things from this picture, or 2 basic ideas from this framework. So the first idea to take away is that in our philosophy of family engagement, consistent with the dual capacity building framework, we focus on both teachers and parents when we talk about capacity building. So we talk a lot about, helping parents to understand, giving parents knowledge and skills and resources in terms of, so that they can understand what their child is learning. How can they best be a supporter of their child? How can they monitor their child's progress? How can they learn to be an effective advocate for their child or for their school? How can they model best practices for other families? So we talk a lot about that, but according to the dual capacity building framework, we also need to focus on educators and teachers. And that's part of why we have the teacher partner program, is because although you bring a lot of capacities already to the table, you may not have had the kind of background that gives you specific strategies that you can use. Or I think one of you mentioned working with diverse families. How do you do that? How can you get to know your families and then take away that knowledge that you get about their family traditions, their values, their culture, their language, and how can you incorporate that into your work with your families and particularly your students to bring context to your lessons, or to help them to be the most engaging lessons for your students. So we think about it both in terms of, yes, families have a lot that they need to learn in order to be able to support their children's learning development, particularly in our high needs schools where parents may not have grown up with a model of an engaged parent. I mean, my father was a teacher, so even though I'm not a teacher myself, I certainly watched and learned, and I come to a school with sort of a default strategy of trusting whoever I meet unless they do something to lose my trust. Whereas many of our parents grew up in situations where perhaps their trust was broken. And so they don't come to the school with that sort of, their default is, I'm not going to trust you until you persuade me that you can trust me, or you persuade me that I can trust you. So thinking about how do you as a teacher help to build those, what are some strategies and practices that you can use to help nurture and develop that trust that's so important for parents. So that whole sort of dual training and professional development is a big piece of what we do. And then the other idea, it's just one of the things we take away from this framework, but one of the things that's important that you'll be working on are your process conditions. So I think I've got them listed here specifically on the next page. Yes. So process conditions, that's just a fancy way of saying when you build these strategies into an event or a practice or an activity relating to family engagement, it helps create the conditions that will foster capacity building for families and for teachers. So you can't always incorporate all of these into everything that you do, but your liaison will kind of work with you on this as like a checklist so that you can maximize the number of these strategies or these practices that you can incorporate into your family engagement work. So relational, if you are having some kind of activity or event, can you design it so that there'll be more opportunities for either parents and teachers to get to know each other, or maybe it's parents and parents getting to know each other and form relationships. Linking to learning and development, we've talked about that, in every time that you are having a family engagement initiative, what is it that you want parents to walk away with knowing more about? Asset base. So when you're planning this work, are you looking at parents through a deficit lens? And in other words, are you seeing all the things that they can't do? Or are you practicing looking at them through an asset lens? Are you looking at them based on what they can do, what their talents are, what their skills are? And are you incorporating that into your family engagement work? Culturally responsive and respectful. Are your interactions with parents, your classroom physical appearance, the kinds of activities and the kinds of content of things you do, does it reflect the diversity of families, and does it draw on their experiences to help enrich your classroom? Collaborative, so when you have, again, say a parent-teacher conference, are there opportunities for you to learn, built-in intentional opportunities for you to learn from parents who are with you, as well as for parents to learn from you how their child is doing and how they can help their child? And then also collaborative, we also think about co-design. So when you do say you're having some kind of mathletics night, like one of our teachers had, is it possible to think about, could I recruit one or two parents from my classroom to help me plan this event? If I think, planning the event by having certain kinds of activities would be a good idea, do I have a couple parents I could bounce that off of to see how they respond, or get their suggestions on what they think the parents would value most? There's a lot that we can learn from parents in terms of making our initiatives and family engagement as relevant to parents as we can. And then interactive, so that element is about, if, for example, you're asking parents to read more at home with their kids, or you're asking them to, help with a particular aspect of a child's reading, are you going to give them an opportunity to practice that? Maybe you can do some modeling, or maybe you can do some role play, or maybe you can pair parents up and they can practice with each other. The idea of that is that even when parents do have knowledge and skills, they got to have confidence in order to be able to take that knowledge and skill and actually try it out. And so using your time with parents to help them build their confidence is important. So those are the process conditions that we try to help you think about when you're doing your family engagement work. Are there any questions about any of the models or frameworks we talked about? You'll talk about these in a lot more detail, but we just kind of wanted to give you an idea. The SC framework is from the State Department of Education, and that's really our core framework. And then we draw from other models like the dual capacity building model and the National Network of Partnership Schools, which is Joyce Epstein. So are there any questions about any of that? Okay. So one of the texts you'll be working from, and somebody asked me at the last orientation, are we going to get assignments we have to do from this? This is not meant to be like an assignment piece. This is really a resource for you. It's if you haven't gotten it already, you will be getting a copy of Karen Mapp's Powerful Partnerships book, which is really written specifically to teachers to provide you evidence and research-based guide to the work that you're doing. And then the workbook that goes with it, the action guide, is really it's not so much a assignment kind of thing as it is a tool for reflection. So you may, at different times, your liaison might suggest that you go through some of the reflection exercises, or there may be something specific in Powerful Partnerships that is really relevant to what you want to do, and she'll suggest that you take another look at that. But it's really meant to be a reference and sort of an ongoing tool for you to use in your work. And then finally, I wanted to go over just a couple of these reflection questions. Now, these sort of reflect some of our beliefs about family engagement, and you may agree with all of them. You may agree with some, you may disagree, but I would just encourage you over time to maybe go back and reflect on some of these questions again, see if some of your experiences have led you to either believe more firmly that they're correct or to change your mind about them, where you start from where you started from. But anyway, the first is the parent can be highly engaged and an active partner without stepping foot in the school. I think sometimes we get so wrapped up with counting the bodies at an event or bodies in the building that we forget that, as Clarissa said, it's not just the act of showing up in an event that's going to change test scores or improve academic achievement. It's that relationship with the parents in school working together, and that parent then taking that that support and using it to interact and engage with their child in their learning. And if that doesn't require someone to physically be at the school, and we know that many of our families can't, so looking for other alternatives for us to make that activity or that make that engagement happen without necessarily parents having to be at the school for every event. Parent-teacher partnerships can help both of you increase your effectiveness. We've talked a little bit about some of the evidence and research about the positive impacts on teachers as well as parents, and just as a strategy for you to be able to meet your goals in your classroom. Family engagement is about consistent practices as well as one-time events. I mentioned that high parent attendance at events doesn't necessarily equal effective engagement, and low parent attendance doesn't necessarily equal disinterest. So we'll encourage you at times to challenge assumptions you might make about why parents do or do not engage, and help you to reach those parents who are interested but are facing challenges. Some families are going to need more support than others, and that's okay. Making sure that each family gets the level that they need. And finally, family engagement requires patience and persistence, but it is highly rewarding. So I think I'm turning it back over to Lorelei for this.
Yes.
Okay.
So we're going to take another opportunity to pause and reflect. That was a lot of information about family engagement. So if you could just share either by unmuting yourself or in the chat, what are some key words or concepts shared so far that resonate with you?
I don't know if you can hear me. Okay.
Can.
That events don't change the test score, but that positive relationship between the school and parents and teachers can make a big difference in test scores and such when helping the student grow.
Wonderful. Thank you, Katie.
For me, I think it was kind of towards the beginning, but when we were talking about like what we should like focus on and things like that, you know, it doesn't have to be an event, and it really can just be a practice that can really impact how things are done within your family engagement. Because yes, events are great, but that doesn't really, I don't feel like it can make as big of an impact as truly like changing a practice within your classroom that can really reach a lot of kids and their parents and their families.
Yeah, I think that excellent. I think that's true, that to consistently work at something, a strategy every year to build those relationships with families can be much more powerful than an event. Tennille?
I agree. It definitely with what Katie said and Tori. I feel like we sometimes look too much at the numbers of, oh well, only these many parents came, and I think we should shift our minds to not think that way, and just the parents that do come, like, give them the resources so that they can do these things at home. Yes, I mean, numbers do matter, and all the, like, getting parents to come is very important, but the parents that continuously show up, I think we should give them the resources that they can use at home so that, their kids can grow in reading, math, writing, whatever it may be. So I definitely agree with both of what they said.
Absolutely. And even trying to reach those parents that aren't able to come into the building for
Right.
whatever reason, how can we support them doing things at home to support their
Right.
children's school success?
In my district, I know we have a lot of low income families, a lot of families that work a lot. So when we do plan events, I feel like it's kind of, I don't want to put this in a bad way, but kind of like a dagger at them that they can't show up. This just made me think of like things that I can do in the future. If we do have events, maybe at home they can do a choice board or something, some kind of activities that they can do at home, even if they can't come to school, if that makes sense. Like we're having a literacy night tomorrow night, and for the families who can't come, it would have been a great idea to, if you can't make it, here are some things that you can do with your kids at home that are going along with what we're doing at literacy night. So I love that idea, and I think somewhere in here we said something about like something like that. I'm definitely going to bring it up in my next meeting with that, and just carry that in for literacy nights, STEM nights, any type of things that we have going on, so that all parents are involved in some type of way.
Great job.
I love that. I love
Yes,
that
my
idea.
teacher partner, great job.
And you're really thinking outside the box, and you are, working that will help to transform how we think about family engagement and school family partnerships. Thank y'all for sharing.
Yeah, and I would say too that I think one of the reasons we focus on the numbers is because those are easy to count. It's sort of an easy way of saying we accomplished something, but it's really about what parents do with what they get from that. And that's harder to count. And we will work with you some in this program about what are some other ways that you can demonstrate outcomes in addition to just the numbers of how many people you distributed something to, or the number of people who came to the classroom, or it's more about how many people did we connect with, by whatever means, how many people actually took the information that we gave them and report that they used it. Those are the kinds of things that we hope we can help you kind of shoot for in terms of evaluating your success. Because I think that also, we sort of focus on what it is we evaluate. So if we're evaluating numbers, we kind of focus on getting the most people in the building. But if we can shift our focus of evaluation to, the relationship between teacher and parent, and the supports that are being effective in helping children with their learning, then that's where the focus will switch to. So thank you for sharing those thoughts. Is this me, or is this, I forget am I on? I think
I think you put yourself on. I'm happy to do it. I'm happy to do it if you want me to, though.
That's okay. I'll do it. I thought I did it, but I didn't want to. Well, anyway, so teacher partner program. So we just we've talked really broadly about what our philosophy is at CFEC, some of the big picture ideas, some of the big picture frameworks. So we just, before we close, we wanted to talk in specifics about the actual components of the teacher partner program. So basic expectations, one is to participate in the orientation session, which you have done. So congratulations, can check that off. And some of you may have already done this, but we're doing a school-wide family engagement professional development session at each partner school. So we're asking that you would also attend that if you haven't had it at your school yet, if you would go, but you may have already done that. Our expectation is that you would meet with your CFEC liaison a minimum of 8 times per school year. And the reason we say 8 times and not monthly is because we know that sometimes things may get crazy. You might have to double up meetings in a month because something's going on in a month that you can't meet. But that's kind of what we've gauged as the number of times that are necessary in order for you to be able to complete the work that we're asking you to do. So then we'll be asking you to complete at least one family engagement plan using our planning tool, which I'll show you in a minute, and then submit that to CFEC so that we'll just look at it and make sure that it's aligned with all of the frameworks and the evidence before we send you back out to implement. We ask, you can start that, you can start implementation as soon as you finish your plan, but we ask that be no later than the start of year 2. So we want you to have at least 1 year to implement. And then submit a summary of your evaluation data and outcomes to us. And that's just, that is not about, like, we're not looking to say, oh, you failed because you didn't get good evaluation data. We're more interested that you're engaging in the process of evaluation and that you're learning from it, and that you get used to the idea of looking at evaluation in sort of a I mean, I never like looking at my evaluation data either, but getting yourself to be a little detached personally from it and just look and say, okay, this is what folks are telling me. This is what they like. This is what they didn't like. This is what worked. This is what didn't work. But I know I can do something different to make this even better. And then completing a feedback survey for us at the end of the year. That's something that we need for our funders, which is the U.S. Department of Education. Okay. And then this is just one page of the planning tool, just to give you an idea. So this would be, and some of you may have already seen this. So basically it's got a couple of parts. We ask you to think about who are your families, specifically, what are the demographics? What are there other special characteristics about your families that are important to take into account when you're, when you're looking at your classroom as a whole? Are there some families that are going to need more supports than other families? And then we ask you to look at needs and resources. So asking you to look at, what are your academic and climate goals for your classroom? Are you working on reading? Are you working on math? Is it attendance? Is it behavior? Is it, any of those things? We just want you to pick at least one of those goal areas and then think about what would I like to see parents doing that will help their students reach those goals we have for reading, for math, for science, for social studies, for whatever the goal is that you pick as most important. And then your liaison will help you work through to see what strategies you might consider adopting, what practices, events, whatever it is that you decide that you want to do. And then you'll make a plan to evaluate your results. And it's not like a big research project or anything. It's just basically, okay, if we, are going to have, if we're going to have a program where we're trying to help parents build their capacity or their knowledge and skills in how to read with their kids in ways that are going to help them with a specific skill. We're going to ask them at the end whether they actually learned that and did they use it. So it's not like it's going to be some big full-blown research project. It's just how can we define what the result is? What is it we want parents to do? And how can we find out whether they actually did that? And if they didn't, what could we do differently to get a better result? And if they did it affect test scores, or did it affect the goal that you're working for? If you're working on attendance and you've adopted one or two strategies with families working and attendance hasn't moved, then maybe there's something wrong with the strategies and we got to try something different. So that's the idea around the plan. So hopefully, we hope you will benefit in many ways from this. So you will have ongoing technical assistance and coaching from your liaison. You'll have the support of this office. You will walk away with increased knowledge, skills, and competencies in engaging families, enhanced partnerships with your parents, and you will receive renewal credits. I haven't figured out exactly how many hours worth you'll get, but we will do an estimate based on the amount of time you spend with your liaison, with your with this part of the program, with any other professional development you do, to give you the number of renewal credits that will accurately reflect your time. So let's see. So your liaison, how will they be supporting you? What can you expect? So they will be providing you with ongoing guidance and support in, as we talked about, assessing your family's needs and strengths, setting goals that are aligned with your priorities for academic and school climate goals, identifying effective culturally responsive family engagement strategies and materials, helping you to supplement your resources through the community partnerships that we have, and to draw from the expertise that we have through some of the faculty here at the College of Education, and to give you help in collecting and analyzing however you decide you want to collect data about the effectiveness of your work. Okay, so before we go to the final slide here, are there any other questions about what to expect from us, what you'll be doing? It's hard to explain in a whole hour what it'll be like, but I'm happy to answer, or any of the liaisons or Gina would be happy to answer any questions you have. Did any of my liaisons have any final words that they wanted to contribute?
Just if questions come up later, you can always ask the
Yeah.
liaisons, and if we don't know the answer, we'll reach out to others and find out.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
All right. Well, with that, if you could, we would really, really appreciate it, and so would our evaluators, if you could scan the QR code that's on the screen. And I'm told it's a very brief survey, but just a survey to help us understand how we can improve our work in preparing you for this program, and what worked for you and what we could do better. So we'd appreciate it if you could do that for us. And once you've done that, I think you've completed the orientation, and we just really appreciate your taking the time to do this. And Tori, I hope your colleague's husband recovers. They're sorry to hear about that.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, we just got the email this morning, and they decided to do the prayer meeting after school today. So we're not really sure if he's going to make it or not, but we are really hoping that he does.
Oh,
that's tough. Yeah. That's tough.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, if you've had a chance, has everyone had a chance to scan the QR code? If so, I'll stop sharing my screen. And just thank you all. And again, if you have anything you need, or questions, or the other thing is, if there's anything else we can offer, we try to minimize the amount of extra time that we ask, because we want you to be able to focus on your classroom and on your work with your families. But if you feel like you would like us to do something like offer additional professional development or do a book group or, you know, whatever, or a discussion group among other teachers who are participating in the program, or, you know, anything like that that comes up, just feel free to suggest that to your liaison, and we're always happy to do more. We know that teaching is challenging and that your time is precious, and so we didn't want to add a lot of extras, but those extras are available if you would like them. Okay. All righty. Well, thank you so much. Thanks to all my liaisons. Thank you to Gina.
Thank
We
you.
appreciate you
Thank
all.
you.
Take care.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.